I'm Mark Robertson, back with you on my site, Carrying Lawn Chairs. It's named after my book, Carrying Lawn Chairs, Youth Sports, and Other Parental Mindsets. As I mention each time, the book is divided into two parts. The first part deals with all the problems I see with organized youth sports. As a matter of fact, I'm against organized youth sports for kids 12 and under. In the book, I say 12 and over should be the only ones, but I've decided 12 and under now. And organized youth sports, the kids aren't having fun. It's all about the parents. It's a dysfunctional scene with parents in the stands screaming at 5, 6, 7-year-old T-ball players. T-ball is one of the worst inventions ever, in my opinion. I know this is like sacrilegious to say, but I'm against Little League Baseball. I know that sounds Americana, apple pie, but I'm against it. Let them play pickup games. The parents can go play with them, the pickup games, but that's where they actually have fun. And you can make up rules as you go along. If you only got 3 or 4 people, you can say, well, if you hit it to right field, it's going to be an out. And you'd have other rules as well. And you're inventing and you're playing and you're getting better at the game. That's how you learn to compete anyway. You don't really learn to compete. I mean, I've said this many times. The great Yogi Berra, the only man with 10 World Series rings, has said that he learned to play baseball on the sandlots of the Hill in St. Louis. And he didn't play Little League Baseball. And there's pictures of him playing on the sand lot. And that's where he learned to play. He said he'd rather have a kid who played on the sand lots than one who played organized baseball. Because in organized games, you bat 3 or 4 times. And if you're playing sandlot ball all day, you can bat 40 times, he would say. Mickey Mantle used to say he'd bat 60 times a game on his sandlot games down in Oklahoma. And so if you want your kids to play good baseball, first of all, they're having fun. Some of them might go on to be major leaguers. Most of them won't. But they'll be having fun in that moment. And that is so important. But these days, I was talking to a guy this week I know. He's a good guy. He's coached his kids through sports at young ages. And he's good. He's good for those kids. But he was saying if he had to do it again, he would focus more on enjoying the present moment rather than always focusing on the future. Focus on the present moment and playing with your kids and enjoying that. They grow up so fast. But let them be children for as long as they can be children. And that's basically the theme of my book. I'm not a child psychologist. Don't have a degree in anything related to that. But the second part of the book, I deal with all sorts of other issues related to young people and all of the assaults that they under these days, from their government schools to perversion being pushed on them and so many other things. And so it's on Amazon. You have to go to the book section. It doesn't come up on a general browse, but yeah, you can check it out if you like. But today I'd like to talk about another experience I've had. I've talked about times where I have a job where I oversee events at an event center. And it's virtually the event center, the people are there in charge of setting them up and then tearing it down. Well, when they're tearing it down, the kids they're always up at one end playing various games. Well, I went to my nephew's son's graduation recently, and he's got a son who just graduated from high school, but he's also got a young son who's just a year and a half, and he was being carried around there by the graduate and by his mom and dad, but he kept looking over. It was a gym, but part of the gym was for parties. It was kind of carpeted, or temporary carpet anyway, but the other end was beyond the volleyball net. And kids were over there, they had some balls, and they were playing some pickup games where they were trying to keep the ball in the air, and then some other kids had some balloons. And this little 1.5-year-old, he couldn't keep his eyes off of them. He'd point to them, and then at one point when they let him down, he headed straight for that. And he found him a balloon, and he kicked the balloon, and he's 1.5. He's never taught any of this. He just knows this is what he wants to do in the present moment. This is who he is. He's learning about the world. Everything's awe and wonder. And a balloon is the greatest thing ever. It's the only thing he's focused on. He kicks it, and then he runs after it, and then he hits it, and then he keeps kicking it, and then he runs after it. And he keeps doing this for no reason other than this is what he does as a 1.5-year-old. And he's enjoying every minute of it. And then after a bit, he'd go over and try to join the kids who were a bit older. And that didn't work out so well, but he got a ball and he was kicking that a little bit. But then he went back to the balloon and just was in awe and wonder of this balloon. He was kicking it and looking up at it and hitting it again. And then he'd look over at the kids every once in a while like he might want to go back over there. And he was just in the total present moment of a 1.5-year-old. And this is what I put forth. Kids everywhere, they're born, they know how to play. Play is their natural instinct. And that's what they do. So parents, let them play with boundaries. They'll always know what to do when they play. They'll come up with something. In the backyard, let them go in the backyard. Let them play. They'll come up with something. Yes, they've got to be safe, but let them play, and that's how they learn who they are. And as they grow a little older, they keep learning who they are. And then when they grow up, it'll be a natural thing for them to be well-adjusted adults. But let them play and be children for as long as they can be children. Now, so many parents coming from an inferiority complex, I guess, thinks, well, I got to get these kids started young. We got to get them playing organized sports at age 3. And we got to get them in soccer at age 3. And we got to, let them run on these big fields. And we got to teach them footwork. And we got to teach them how to hold the T-ball. We've got to teach them to swing the bat level so they'll have an advantage when they play in other leagues. And it's all about the competition and getting ahead of the other kids, and parents bragging about their kids, and parents having big SUVs to show off to the other parents, and going on trips. I saw recently where all this travel sports is getting less popular. Well, duh, the kids don't like it. I guarantee they don't like it. Now, if they're older, if they're 14, 15, 13, 16, that's different. They might like to do this. But taking 7 or 8-year-olds travel ball is crazy, in my opinion. And it's crazy enough to just have them in the leagues in the area. But I say this each time. I was in a thing called boys baseball. It's Little League, just a different name. And the league was 10 years old to 12 years old. Well, I remember each team had a great player, at least one. Most of the time it's just one, and everybody else was kind of in between. And then you have a few that were just kind of there because their parents wanted them there. And when the best player would pitch, you couldn't even hit him because they were 12 years old. You weren't having any fun. And they said, well, this is teach you how to hit good pitching. Well, and then the fathers or all the adults, they're treating this like the major leagues. Well, we got to get this kid on this team this year, and it's fair to get this kid here, and we got to do this because he's a good pitcher and all this other stuff. It's ridiculous. Organized sports for young kids is ridiculous, in my opinion. It's all about the parents. And they think, well, it's just so normal. These kids on this baseball field or whatever, the court or whatever, if they're on the baseball field, there's 9 players in uniforms. It looks just like the major league, so this must be normal. No, it's not. It's not. The kids aren't having fun. They're not enjoying it. Let them play pickup games. That's where they have fun. As I've also said, when I was a kid, we had a game called Indian Ball. You could play it with as few as 2 people. And I remember playing it hours after hours. I had a couple jobs growing up. I cut grass and I umpired baseball. And but in the meantime, we would do this or do other things and just had fun during the summer. And that's what kids should do. Again, you drive by a baseball park during the day, you'll never see kids playing baseball. And a lot of the fields won't even let them because they're marked and dragged and everything for the games that night. And so it's all about the parents and the leagues and the sports, and the kids aren't having fun. And but I'm telling you, my nephew, son, is just. It was beautiful to watch. He was so totally focused on that balloon. That's all he cared about. He wasn't worried about paying bills. He wasn't worried about people liking him. He wasn't worried about trying to be better than the Joneses. He wasn't trying to do anything other than that balloon. That was the only thing he focused on. Totally innocent. And I'd be so great if children could keep their innocence much longer than they do. Actually, it'd be great if we could keep it our whole lives. Yes, we have things to deal with, responsibilities, bills, like I mentioned, jobs, careers, everything else. But it'd be great if you keep the innocence, that's help you in your job and your career. I mean, look at Walt Disney. He says he basically was just always a kid and doing things that he enjoyed as a kid. So he built him Disneyland, and then later Disney World. He brought out cartoons and things like that. But he basically said we always should keep the enthusiasm of the child within us. But it's hard to do these days because there's so much pressure. And I'm not saying there won't be pressure. I mean, it's, we have to make a living and support the family and all these other crazy things in society right now that are attacking the family and attacking goodness. And it's Marxism. They want to tear down the family. They want to tear down religion, and the same old, same old. So we got to fight that and all sorts of forces coming against us that are evil in society. But again, you take a look at the evil people. Well, how did they get off track? Well, I think they lost their childhood innocence, and who knows what forces attacked them growing up that made them turn out the way they are. But it's let them be kids, and as far as punishing kids, don't make fun of them. Enjoy life with them. Don't make fun of them. Don't criticize them in a way that's harsh. I mean, if they something that needs to be corrected, that's okay. That you correct it. Kids need some correction and boundaries, but don't do it in a way that's evil or like you're totally angry at them. Just correct them, and they'll learn. Kids want to learn what's right and wrong. Now, at the same time, let them continue to be kids and play within certain boundaries. Let them play. Let them be children for as long as they can, and then they will be better adjusted adults. And that's seems so simple, but very few parents do that. They want to get them started so young because this is a very competitive world. And again, the kids who play are well adjusted and are better adjusted as adults, and that's just an answer. And they have a fear, though, many parents, that if they don't get started young, they'll never get ahead in this world. It's just the opposite. Let them play. Let them find out who they are. And every child is born with a gift. They're smart at something. Nourish that. Encourage that. And the world will be a much better place, because God gave gifts to everyone to use. I just had, I believe it was last Sunday at my church, it was the Gospel of the Talents, and the reading of the talents. And but find their talents, encourage them, and they naturally find them within play. We've talked about the Norway story. That's what they do there. They let the kids play in winter sports, and they kind of gravitate towards something. And that's what kids do. They'll gravitate towards something. And if they're pushed and they're just really strict in school and got to get these grades, A's and everything, well, they might not know who they really are. And that's controversial to say as well. Not that the parents can't be proud of accomplishments, but they still need to play. And it doesn't always have to be about pressure and performing and everything else. Self-knowledge is very important to get along in this world. And you get self-knowledge from play. And the little 1.5-year-old boy was gaining self-knowledge playing with that balloon. And it was just so amazing. He was totally focused on that balloon. And he was there, and he was looking up at it. And then he looked over at the other kids. You might want to go over there. Well, no, he was back at the balloon. And he could have stayed there all night. But that's another thing. The kids were all up there playing, most of them. That's just kind of a natural thing everywhere I go, that the kids all gather around and play. Most of them probably didn't even know each other. But they played, and that's who they are. So, well, we thank you for joining us on Carrying Lawn Chairs, and we'll see you next time.